Flippity piss.
Boy, howdy.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mechs on Deck. It is Wednesday, and we have an old friend, we can say, joining us again, Mr. Nephlock. How are you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be back. Old friends, it's been probably about a year.
It was July 10th of last year. I looked it up like an hour ago. So 363 days.
Close to the year. Almost hit it.
Almost.
Hey, we would have been further away next Wednesday, so we hit it as close as possible.
It's true. The Price is Right rules, we hit it on the head. You know, if we would have gone next week, it would have been.
Actually, it's leap year. So 364 days.
Hey. I like the way you think.
So there you go. That's as close as possible. We got there, boys. Anyway, how are you doing today, man?
Doing good. I mean, all things considered. The world's a little nuts right now, but I'm on Mechs on Deck talking keyboards, and I got a beer, so
hey,
as good as can be. And I don't have to wear a face mask. So
there you go.
It's true. We like to think that we're a good little relaxation piece, a good little 2 hours or however long we stream each night. A good little break away from the craziness. So
hell yeah.
Just a nice change of pace on your evening. I hope everyone is doing all right. Apiary is here, asking for Murph and throwing lots of shade at Nephlock. So Apiary, maybe don't.
I would like to publicly apologize to Gap and Apiary that I didn't do my due diligence and tell you that I was coming on here, and that's on me, and I'm sorry. And I hope we can move past this moment and rekindle our friendship.
It's all good. I'm going to dox her real quick. All right. So everyone thinks no one knows. Everyone's like, oh, the Gasp isn't her name. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you her name. It's actually Pasag. It's just Gasp backwards. She's been fooling all of you. She's got a name. Her name is Pasag. So only refer to her as such from the henceforth. So anyway, of course, Apiary's here. Brez, is that Wax Poetic? Wax Poetic. Love that name, by the way. Lang, of course. Clicky Clacky. I'm sure I missed someone else. Who was that? Now, Keep New. What's up? How are we doing, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday. So, we're going to be talking about a little bit of spice tonight. Actually, probably a couple different flakes of spice spread throughout. But guys, if you guys do not know who Mr. Nephlock is, he is the designer of GMK Metropolis. He is the designer of GMK Kaiju, as well as working on lots of other projects that are not out yet and some that are. I'm really excited to get into one of these projects because I had no idea until you told me that you were behind. What an amazing meme of a set. But welcome back.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to chat.
Hell yeah. So we usually like to get started with the Fast Four. I think you were like our second person, so it'll be really easy to find you on the doc. Yeah, you were literally our second person ever to do a Fast Four.
Let's see if I can stick to that consistency again.
Let's see it. So, top 4 favorite switches.
Okay. I think last time it was the Fast 3. So you're throwing curveballs at me.
Ooh, so you, I guess, yeah, we did change it right after you. Fast 4.
Retooled Blacks, MX Xylants, Holy Pandas, Creams.
Boom.
There we go.
Top 2.
Okay. Little bit of consistency, but there's been a lot that's come out in the past year.
Tell me about it. I used to be like, oh, I'm going to be on top of it, have one of every switch and a switch tester, and really, nope. Within the last 2 years, it's kind of, and I'm assuming everybody else is the same way. You're just like, I don't. You kind of have to pull the prices right and trust the audience majority. And, it seems like everybody's creams, inks. Nobody likes clickies anymore for good reason. And Holy Pandas.
Shade. I love it.
You get a random person that's like, well, I really like Brown Alps circa 1993, and it's fine. I'm sure they're great.
They are, but your wallet will hate you if you try to stick to only Brown
Market,
Alps.
Please, can I find Brown Alps offering $8 per switch, and you get them in 5 separate batches of 14 switches.
It is funny though, because I was thinking about this the other day of like how I remember when the like 68 switch tester first came out from like KBD fans, and I was like, that thing's ridiculous. And now it's like, if you wanted to have a similar thing, it would be like 130 switch tester.
Right, well, and half of those would be JWK, but it's all just recolors. And
it's just recolors in a different spring. So
it's a spring tester at this point. Everybody's like, give me a linear and spring meta. Let's go.
That's why someone said, do you like alpacas? I was like, I like the housings. I put my own springs in there because I like my own springs. But at that point, they're like, well, do you like mobs or alpacas? I'm like, they're the same thing.
Yeah. I will say that in my retooled blacks, MX Xylants, Holy Pandas, and whatever, most of those springs get replaced. Yeah, I am a big fan of the 65 gram TX springs. MX Xylants, most of my boards that have those have the 67 gram Zelio springs because they were built back when that was the only way to do it. And ironically enough, my favorite springs to put in either Holy Chickies or Holy Pandas are the 67 gram springs from KBD fans. I don't know if they've updated it, but the initial run that I bought a bunch from, it was 67 gram actuation, not bottom out. And so they're quite a bit heavier.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Do we have the same thing?
I bought like 80, I think it was 80 gram.
Oh, damn.
And so I typed.
You see those fingers.
Oh, dude, trust me, I got sausage fingers. So it's hilarious. So I bought that, and then I got 80 gram TX springs months later, and the whole time I'm typing away, and I'm like, wow, I really like this. I fell in love with that switch, and then I put 80 grams in inks, and I was like, this is not the same.
like
this is
get
not
clear.
even close to the same. It's so I went and measured it, and I was like 103. I was like, oh shit, Cherry doesn't go by bottom out; they go by actuation force. So I've been using 100 grip springs for months without realizing it.
Yeah. No, I ran into the same thing. I'm like, wow, these are way heavier. So there's just like no way in a linear, but I used them in tactiles, and I actually prefer a little bit heavier in there, especially with the Holy Pandas. It just
Makes it snappier.
Yeah.
Feels like it kind of smooths it out a little bit. It's not quite as rough.
Yeah, it's not as aggressive. Probably because the leaf is like, oh my god, what are you doing to me?
Just getting punched over and over again.
Can someone please clip that? I want that as a GIF of typing a spring and him doing this.
With lube.
Exactly, with lube. Lube your switches, guys.
Next up on the Fast Four will be your top 4 favorite keyboards.
Ooh, this one probably has changed from last year. Minus the first one. So my first one is still going to be the Crown. That's KRWN versus the actual Crown, which I know that you had Blind Assassin last week that he's been working on.
I should be getting mine here in the next couple days.
I did show it last year. Remember, I almost dropped it.
Yep.
But it is built now.
Ooh.
There's that guy.
There it is. We'll talk about that set here in a little bit.
So,
Oof.
There's that weight getting that patina on there. So that board will always be a favorite of mine because it's emblematic of the friends that I worked on that project with. Wax Poetic, who was in chat, still there. Regalicious and Kilgara. Kilgara being the main designer on the board. And so it was just us 4 that got that produced. So that was a fun project. Second, probably just because it's new, is the S7 Elephant. There's a theme with bezels. Third's probably going to be the Exant. Divisive for some people, but still very much excellent. And then the fourth one is probably going to be the TXCP.
There we go. So you don't care about desk space.
I mean, I've got a rather, forgive the COVID madness, but I've got a rather long desk. So desk space is super problematic. It is during COVID because now it's not just my desk, it's mine and my wife's. So we sit next to each other every day. But yeah, desk space typically not. I do have some 60s if it comes like LAN parties.
Yeah.
It's basically like take a little 60, shove me in a corner. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Salty Man K, thank you for the 2 monthly bears. Twitch Prime sub. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah, those are, and you got the TXCP still on there. Bumping the M68 to the curb though.
I do like it. Despite what everybody doesn't like about it, I don't really have as much of a problem with it. Everybody kind of hates on the integrated plate, and referring to my second answer on the first Fast Four, just put an MX Xylem in it, and it's a non-issue. The only reason it's getting bumped is that I've fallen in love with 65%. I do love 60s aesthetically, especially HHKB 60s. But being in Adobe programs every day where you're using the arrow keys and shift plus arrow keys to move things in specific increments, it's kind of a bitch to hold FN, then shift, and then another key. I can just move so much quicker.
Yeah,
the get shit. That's why I like my 75% is my get shit done board.
Yeah, and I know that especially present company, 65% is a bit of a trigger word.
Not for me, for Chewy alone. I'm all about the 65.
Which is why I threw the TXCP in there. You can have number 4. You can just go CP layout.
I love the CP, man.
Yeah,
I had the Austin for a very long time. I had it for like 6 months. Really enjoyed it. I just wasn't using it as much. And I was like, I've got this great board. I've got some other stuff that I wouldn't mind picking up soon. And it was sitting there, and there's this, I talked to this guy who was like, I want nothing more than the Austin. And I was like, I would rather this board go to someone that will use it all the time. For me, it was just sitting in the corner, looking pretty. And I was like, that's, type on your boards.
I will say the TXCP is number 4 primarily for sentimental reasons, because it was like my first big boy board. Mm-hmm. So I guess tied for number 4 is probably the Bauer, because it is a 65%, and the bottom row is, I don't know why anybody didn't think of it before. I mean, I know controversially some people did think of it before, but why it wasn't mainstream before, because that's the sexiest bottom row on a 65%.
Bauer is pretty great. I still am in love with mine.
Bauer is Bay.
Right there.
So next up, I am curious to know if this is going to change, because you have a type. You have a type when it comes to keycaps.
I know what this question is.
So, top 4 favorite key sets.
Can I pick my own this time?
No.
Oh. Yeah.
Still no.
You really want the same answers?
I mean, I'd love some new ones, but I don't want to force you to lie.
Let me see if I can get these in the same order that I did last time. Classic beige, so 9009. Black on white, white on black.
No, you nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed those 3.
You need a 4.
What's the 4th? What's the
Metro?
Metro?
Okay.
Hands down. Obviously for sentimental reasons. 4 could be muted.
There you go.
For non-sentimental reasons, which would just continue the type of.
You a fan of did you pick up Modern Dolce Light?
I did.
Yeah, I figured that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, I did. Key sets coming in. What do I have coming in? It's probably going to be I got Dracula, but I did get like the black and white and the red kit. So that's Olivia Dark. I got Dual Shot. I'm actually probably the most pumped for that one.
Dude, Dual Shot's going to be sick.
This one called Kaiju should be shipping sometime late future. And then Bushido.
Ooh, solid lineup.
That is a solid lineup.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Dual Shot. I picked that up for Osiris on Christmas, and because we talked a long time about what set he wanted, and he was like, I think I'm going to be annoyed with myself that I slept on Dual Shot if I didn't get it. I
think it's going to be great. I think it relatively it didn't seem to sell a ton, but I was the PlayStation 1 era, and I think it's just a good dark gray set. We don't really have many of those. Kind of the reverse of the set that came with the Exit, but that was the worst layout for a key set you could get. No split backspace, so
it was like the weird. Yeah, it was weird too. Like random. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically only to fit that board, and it didn't even cover every layout that board offered. So.
Yeah, I still don't understand why they did that, and then they sold it like you could still buy it on OCO by itself. I think you might still be able to.
You might, but who'd be buying it?
I don't know.
It's probably
now. I just want to look this set up. I'm honestly, I'm lost on this.
I think it's an N9 base with a lighter gray, or it may be black and N9 Legends, but it's basically dark with a slightly less dark legend. And then there's
that is 109. It's sold out.
Yeah.
And it's $109 for a 65% layout with a little bit of ISO support.
Yeah,
and some split space bars.
but no split backspace.
But no split backspace.
And not enough to cover, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not looking at it. You can't do a 1-5, 1-5, 7, 1-5 bottom row.
Oh, no, I don't think you can.
No, it doesn't even have a 7U spacebar.
So
They were like trying to pioneer what Drop ended up doing with their sets.
Oh, the Samurai.
Like Red Samurai.
Drop's still trying to pioneer that.
You know what I love is that they give. Oh, okay, never mind. That's row 4. Yeah, no, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'm surprised it's only $109 given current like extra prices. They're not like, oh, $175. Someone will pay it.
Yeah. Well, luckily it is sold out, which means I guess some people. I don't remember how many they had extra, but it was up there a while ago.
Got that actual key set than their actual boards out of that buy.
It's probably true. It's probably true. That was a board. It's funny because both you and Apiary are big lovers of the Accent. I know she was fighting when she was on Man of Interest, the cool board, a couple months ago. She was fighting to move it out of the lowest tier.
The lowest tier? Oh, you know what? That cool board can go away.
I think it was in Yikes. I think it was in Yikes, which is the lowest level.
Hype Beast Generation board.
I think we need to make our own cool board.
Put the Accent on top.
A rival cool board.
It gets such a bad rap, and it really is. It's a great board. It sounds great. Who doesn't love like being able to put your pizza right on the side of your board and still type? That's great. The Anno on it is amazing. The big flaw of that board is that the PCBs were bullshit because they're TGR PCBs. And they were completely flawed from the get-go. So everybody's just having problems with them.
I know that feeling. I have a Singa round 1 that has a TGR PCB, and there's LEDs. I've tried every QMK combination.
Yeah.
Nothing get those damped. I'm like, I have a polycarbonate keyboard and no way of lighting it up.
Well, and the part of the issue there is that from what I understand, so somebody more versed may come in and flame me, but that buy was kind of plagued. Rama designed it, was commissioned to design it, but wasn't really involved in making the board. And the runner kind of fizzled out. And so it was basically Yuxi that was kind of taking everything over, but they switched the bottom from nylon to polycarbonate. And so the screws were cracking it in shipping. I chose not to go in on that buy because I got the M65A, which was also kind of plagued. But I think the community's moved past that. And I always regretted not getting in on the Exit. And then I found one finally that had the aluminum bottom that I wanted. And so I got that. But I don't even use the LEDs. So whether my PCB has LED issues or not, I have no idea. And I love not having to worry about it.
Yeah. It is unfortunate that board is so poorly received by a lot of the community because it has 3 of like what were heralded as like some of the best designers and best keyboard makers, especially at the time.
Oh yeah,
involved in it, and then it just kind of fizzled. It was real hype for a little bit, and then it just fizzled out.
You see them every now and again, but I think that was even their little slogan tagline is like the greatest community project of 2017 or whatever. 2017, I think, something like that.
The second you start making stuff like comments like that, you're just dooming yourself. That's like
you're jinxing yourself.
Yeah, that's like putting a tattoo of a girlfriend on your arm or something. Like you're just that's doomed to fail when you start making those claims.
So like, I shouldn't show you my Hyperfuse round 1 tattoo up here.
Shipped.
Is it just? Did you?
I got a little F8 above.
I was about to say, did you get the F8 tattooed on there just so you can get
it's right next to my Zune tat.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, man. Throw a Lumina tattoo on there as well.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
I bought a key set from Ivan, and then I rebought it off eBay.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, well, the last of the fast four will be one that has nothing to do with keyboards. You remember this one. It'll be your top 4 favorite foods.
Yeah, I think last time is probably going to be about the same. Tomato soup and grilled cheese.
Yep.
I think I said ramen. That still holds true. Kraft mac and cheese, which has to be 3 cheese, not normal stuff. Shapes if I have to, and then bread. If it's made out of bread, I'm gonna eat it and I'm gonna love it. If it's GMK bread, I'm gonna be on the fence.
Ooh, spice. That's my set of the month.
You're not getting that bread?
A little too brown for my taste. I do appreciate it in that somebody had the stones to run it. I feel like there's kind of been this joke of like, oh, I like that. Let's make a key set out of it. We got coffee, weird old Russian cars, bread,
Asian drinks.
Asian drinks.
I want you to throw as much shade at GMK Cafe as you possibly can.
I've been seeing photos. Honestly, it's all of these they're not bad sets. Bread, cafe, they're not bad sets. I just brown is hard to match.
Yeah.
I won't put brown on black. It's got to go on silver, but I wouldn't choose it. So I'm sure there's going to be a combo that comes out there that it's like, wow, that looks really good. I think Rama's got like a tan ano that he's been pumping. Looks great with Sandstorm. Probably looks good with bread and coffee. Every key set looks good in those like fringe cases where you're like, yeah, I dismiss it. And then you see a post on RMK and you're like, oh my gosh, that board makes that set. Like I want it now. But
Yeah,
that's always way after the fact. And that it's usually like the resale value is basically what you paid for, or GMK sets. It's like under 200. It's kind of the bar is like $200, right? If the Mech Market posts are under $200, then there's usually like a post with a board that looks amazing. And then it's like over $200. And that's how you know that your flip price has made it. And then if you hit $300, then you're just like rake it in until round 2.
Yeah. I do agree. Like sets like Chocolatier, like that's a Chocolatier is always a set that I'm like, I would frame that. I wouldn't put it on a board because I don't think, other than maybe like a wood case or I used to have the antique brass finish of TX boards that I think it would work well with. But that's such a niche, like that's such a specific thing where it's like I tried to not buy too many boards that it's like this board, this set, and it will never be anything different. I have one, and I think that it's okay because it's my board. So
well, and that's I think I mentioned this last time, and I'll just reiterate it. That's why my fast 4 on favorite key sets are so boring. Is because they work on damn near any board, right?
Yeah.
You can have some really odd colors that look great as a key set, and then you put it on a board and they just slightly don't match, or the grays are a little different, or it's like a strange blue. And then if you get one of those boards that has the color and has the key set on it, it's done. You almost can't move it. So I had Chocolatier at one time, and I had a wood board that I put it on. I'm like, this looks great. I can't do anything with this.
Stuck here. If I want to sell this, I got to sell this set too.
Kind of. I have a couple boards that are kind of like that right now, and it's like, what do I put on you? One of them is my M60, which is the green one from round 1. Love that color, but
looks great with camping on it. But outside of that,
yeah, I don't have camping, so and I think I have pristine on it, which is basically L9. It's like light beige, and that's the only one that really works on it other than classic retro. So
it'd be like that sometimes, but that's and we can can start kind of digging into it because I want to talk about you. You have very bright, colorful sets, right? You have, which it still baffles me. I know I asked you about this last time. It was like your favorite sets are all these very, for a lack of better term, boring, like plain sets.
Dull.
And then you dull, boring. What's the word I'm looking for? The personality of a potato sets, right? And then you make Metropolis, and then you make Kaiju bright green, bright orange. It's going to pop off every board that you see. Metropolis is an amazing set. I've seen it in person many times. I think that came out amazing. I think that's just a fantastic set. So I do want to talk about how when you design and how it's differing so much from what your personal likes are.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not my personal likes. I do like it because it has they're fun, right? They're fun. They look great on a board. I will show this. This is my wife's board, and she's been stealing my PC monitor, and my computer is actually over there from work. But there's Metro on her board. And it is fun to kind of look over at it, but part of it is like, Steve Jobs, and I hate that I'm referencing that because I'm actually not a huge fan of Steve Jobs, but everybody gave him flack because he wore like a black turtleneck every day, and that's because he didn't really have to think about it, and it didn't really clash with anything, and so I guess that like my day-to-day boards, that's kind of what they are. Is they're simple, and I like them to be elegant and kind of blend in. And then every once in a while, I'll pull out a flashy fun board. And I don't really like designing. There's so many ways to design key sets that I don't necessarily want to design another black on white, like it's already done. There's not really any personality into that, and I feel like I have more to offer than to design another simple goes with everything key set. So I'd rather do something fun that even if I won't use it every day, there will be people out there that do and love it and are fans of it. Every once in a while I'll get a message and somebody's like, "Hey, look, I know that you did Metro and I just wanted to show you my board." And it's like decked out to the nines. It's got every matching Metro artisan on it. And they're ecstatic about it. And that's really the whole reason that I'm doing it is I love seeing what everybody does with it. A bunch of my buddies are getting into designing PCBs and cut acrylic boards, and they found like class green boards, and then they put Metro Midnight on it, and they love it, and it looks amazing. And I'm like, that's sick. It's just it's funner to see that, than putting a color on a white background and then seeing somebody put it on a TGR, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I think there's like a little bit of a difference there. It sounds like of a lot of people design a key set that is specifically something that they've envisioned for a long time, something that they've wanted for a long time. From what it sounds like for you, I know you are a graphic designer, correct? And by trade. So it's like you're designing something that is something that you want to see, but also is like you're designing it as much for yourself as you are for other people. In a sense of trying something that is cohesive in its design nature and looks good together and flows well. Which I think
our community is big enough now that essentially there's a demographic for every sort of key set, and why not have fun with it and see if it's something that people like. And part of that is my slightly rebellious nature. I like kind of breaking the mold on things a little bit where I can. I know that a lot of people call Kaiju Gatorade, and that's fine. Compliment. Gatorade's
I never thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's Gatorade. It's like the first comment in the interest check, and it's like, that's fine. I'll take it. That's like a globally recognized brand.
Good. It's good to me.
Yeah.
A globally recognized brand, and you're not getting sued by a globally recognizable brand. Boom.
That's fine. And they may not appreciate the colors, but for everyone that doesn't like it, there's probably someone that does. Or for every 5 that doesn't, there probably is. So let's run the set right when COVID hits and see how it does.
I mean, I will say though, it is awesome because you look at sets like Kaiju, like even Bread, maybe 2 years ago, those sets might not have gotten as much exposure. They might not have ran, who knows? But with the community being so big now, it's awesome that these sets that are a little bit more out there, a little bit more crazy, are able to exist because the community is so big and everyone can kind of find what they like. And there's, instead of having 15, 20, maybe 100 people that were like, oh, I like this colorway, now there's like 300, whereas that was like the entirety of buys before.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it this month. Hammerhead tried to run once before.
Yep.
Didn't, they basically called it, I think, like after a week or something, because like nobody bought in on it. And last time I checked on Hammerhead, halfway to MOQ day 1 or something like that. And
it outsold in one day what it did in a week last time.
Yeah, and I think part of that is that our community's exploded. Even in the last year, definitely in the last 2 or 3. From like one group by every couple of months being like, oh, do I want this one? Oh, okay, maybe not. I'll wait till September and see if something else pops up. And it's just like, you got to be independently wealthy to even like pretend to keep up.
Yeah, we always talked about how, or Osiris always used to tell me, he's like, man, I'm thinking about just buying like one set, the set that runs every month. Because back then it was one set that ran every month.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I think we're just going to buy like one set every month. And if I don't like it, I'll just get rid of it and use that to buy another set.
It went so quick from one set to one set every vendor to like now we're hitting multiple sets per vendor every month, So part of that is that our community exploded. And part of that, I think, is that our community is being hit with a big pandemic of FOMO, where people are essentially buying something that they're kind of half in, half out on, because they don't want to, again, like see some of the photos of when it comes in and be, oh crap, now I have to spend double the price to go get it. It's kind of like the pot odds on buying it, because you can always sell it or flip it. You spend $120 on a set, and especially right now, things are like 200 plus at base.
Oh, yeah. It is crazy. Oh, yeah. It is crazy because even when Chewy was talking about that was in like early 2018 when I was like, I could just start buying a set every month. And it was like sets on the aftermarket weren't going for that crazy. Like you would see regularly like a set would sell for like maybe like 180, maybe 200 if it was like super sought after, but it was never like 350, 400 like it is now.
Well, and if they were typically like, there was the SA Calm Depths issue. They were rarer sets.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of few and far between that punched up that high. And then you started having GMK sets punch up that high. You had Serica, you had Muted, and now it just seems like it's Strikers doing something. Like I've kind of lost track for mental sanity. But I mean, things are just like going astronomically high.
It's strange. The summer of 2018, when I really like took the plunge, the top sets were Nautilus. Nautilus was easily going over 200. Not like it was like 250 was the highest, and that was usually Nautilus plus space bars plus novelties. So it kind of made sense. And then anything hyperfuse, right? Yep. Anything hyperfuse was super duper sought after. And outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, our laser was a big one that popped off in the aftermarket. But I don't know if you guys remember how fucking annoying Mech Market was when Laser came out, because there's like 35 different kits, right?
Yeah.
And everybody got like 4, and then they only wanted 2 of them, and then they wanted 2 others, and every other set or every other post on Mech Market was trading this for this kit. And yeah, I mean, now it's fucking ridiculous. Now there's like 20 top sets.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. And part of that is that people don't want to wait, and I guess part of me is like, that's the hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything now is to the point where, like, if it's selling for that amount, there's going to be a round 2. I think that DMG did a smart thing, because DMG did extras, and like they were popping off, and TKC's like, cool, round 2 right now.
Yep.
Like, we'll just do it right now. And what that did is that undercut the flip, and then it gave people a way to get it for much less than the flippers were wanting. And all they had to do was wait.
Yeah.
Which is not so bad.
It's
6,
awesome.
7, 8 months, and you get it.
It's awesome because it gives you the chance of like, you go to Mech Market and you can see, okay, I want DMG, and then you see, oh crap, that's selling for $400, and then you head on over to the TKC website and you're like, well, I can get it on group buy for $130.
Right.
I'm gonna do that instead.
And all I have to do is wait because we know it's color matched. Like
and maybe this is like the average Joe in me, but I would much rather wait 8 months and save $170. Because to me, the what I'm saving is the ability to get a group buy of another key set that I enjoy. I can buy one and have it now, or I can buy one now, buy another one in a couple months, and have both of them in 8 months.
Yeah.
For the same price. I'm gonna get 2. It's 8 months. The boards I have now will probably have different ones in 8 months.
Yeah, especially when people are like, they already have a ton of GMK sets, and then they're like buying them up on the aftermarket. I'm like, that's just wasting money. Like, you're just not getting good value there. Like, I get you want it for the pictures, but
there are a few sets, that haven't gone into a round 2 or probably won't.
Yeah.
Because runners and things like that, and those ones, I would say, are probably a little more appropriate to overextend on if you truly love it. Muted.
Yeah.
There hasn't been another run of GMK Muted because they won't, because of the EPBT, and I think J-Chan flipped around it.
Although we got Modern Dolch Light, which is extremely close.
Basically a different set. Yeah. But it fulfills kind of the same need.
The void, yeah.
Right.
Minus the purse. I'm still mad.
Right. You got Grand Budapest, SA Grand Budapest,
right?
Which is an amazing set. Probably won't be run again.
Still J-Chan.
One I wish that I'd got in on was Kobayashi, because it's a boring potato personality SA key set. But I don't know.
Not ashamed.
It's got some yellow in there, so
yeah, a little bit, and some red.
That's so the only set that I would really right now go. I would spend more than group buy. I would spend a good chunk of change on would be SA Camping. Yeah, but SA Camping's worth like $500-$600, if not more. So I'm like, no. I'm not gonna spend what I could spend on a keyboard and a key set,
right,
for a set that in reality I wouldn't even type on that much. I would just kind of look pretty in the back. That's a pretty lofty piece of wall art.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is we're probably getting to the point where a lot of sets have, I don't want to say parallels, but probably close proxies.
Mm-hmm.
Or what was the word? Facsimiles. You have, what are some that are fairly similar?
Oh, Olivia and Mizu, for that matter.
I thought you were going to say cafe.
Oh no, I don't want to throw
Olivia
too
and
much
Cafe.
shade. But you've got sets that are kind of. I get that. You get the fill the need sets, right? You mean Modern Jolch Muted, like you said. We've got Minimal, and what was the one that came out? Belafonte was like the exact same set. Plus we've got
it was Hennessy.
Hennessy. It ran with the same time as Belafonte, and then you've got a lot of the. I mean, it's got to be kind of basic, right? What's it called? Bleached. That was the other one where it's like we're filling that need but making it cooler instead of warmer. And
Bleached is interesting. So I do have Pristine, which is L9. I have Stormtrooper, which is CP, and I have Minimal, which is WS1, which are all essentially like black on white sets, but the whites are just a little different. I didn't get in on Bleached, but I am curious to see like the nuanced difference on that white. I didn't go in on it because for me, I think it might be a little too like printer paper, just like
it's very bright,
unnaturally white. I tend to prefer the slight cream in CP. But yeah, I mean, it was funny that we did have Minimal and Hennessy running at the same time, which were essentially the same set. They're both pure text modifiers. Hennessy had lowercase and Minimal had initial caps. I want to say Hennessy was like a full base kit and you could get it for like $100, and then Minimal was like 110, but you didn't get a numpad. And I'm like, and then we had Bleached was the same month or the month after. So it was like 3 black on white key sets within 2 months, 1 month.
Well, and it's interesting too, because we're starting to see that even with cat sets, right? Which we have the cat monochrome, and there's another cat set, cat refined, that are both going to be running, I think, like month after each other, and they're both extremely similar sets.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting.
What are you guys' opinions on that? Because like I know that we talked a little bit last time, and it seemed a bigger issue last year, maybe because I was a little more involved last year. But like this colorway is mine, like the ownership of colorway. Like at what point does that break? Because obviously black on white is not necessarily, at least in my opinion, like how do you own putting black on white when it's A, GMK's stock colors, and B, it's slightly unoriginal. Don't get mad.
You're right. It's not original. It's base colors. Like when it comes to base colors, I think it's totally fine. I think like it's a little silly to run like Bleached and the other and Hennessy were like almost at the exact same time, right? I thought that was that to me just goes to show you that drop is just like out of the loop. They just kind of do things their way and don't really look, because I know that some vendors, a good chunk of the vendors kind of go, hey, here's what we're running. Let's try not run like 2 sets
in the group by threads. It's like, hey, we're running June, July, or we'll run this in September, and it does seem like drop kind of what they're running the month they're running it.
Yeah, and they just kind of kind of go for it. But I don't, the whole thing. It's like it's the strange honor system.
Yeah,
and the dibs mentality. What gets me is sets that have not run yet. So if you have 2 ICs that are very similar and neither set has run, and there's big arguments, I'm like, neither of you have run.
Yeah.
Neither of you have run sets, so I mean, in reality, neither of you have claim to anything. But it's just strange that I could go buy something extremely close to like Mizu, right, or to camping. I could go make something incredibly close, if not the exact same. And if I could pay GMK and GMK sends it to me, or Infinicky, because that's the other thing too, is you can run these sets in different profiles. And if it's the same colorway, whatever. They don't care. Most of the time, it's like, sure, you got the money, let's do it. And at that point, it's who would buy it. And I feel like we're at the point in this community now where people don't care as much about the loyalty to the designer as much as just give me what I want.
Yeah.
Like, where do I put my credit card information?
Well, and I would say that that's an accurate statement. You know, I think the community at large, if there was a if somebody did rip something off and put it in a different profile, the community probably there would be a vocal group, of course, but I think that there would still be plenty of people that just bought it, especially if it was cheaper. You know, I will say that, like, I think that would cause more of a stir if somebody took, say, Mizu in your example, if somebody took Mizu and did that. I see that as more blatant, as somebody choosing to run another black on white. You know, but philosophically, like, where is that line?
Yeah, it's
where do you say something is generic enough that running another white on black or running another classic retro, or, you know, a white base with a gray modifier and a pastel base bar and enter key, like, where is the line between that or something that's a little more unique, like Mizu, or if somebody did Metro, you know?
Yeah.
If somebody said, cool, I'm going to do this dark blue thing with red, yellow, and teal, I'd be like, oh, hey, what you got going there? Because I think you shouldn't be doing that. I'm going to get offended.
I think that line is when you. Or sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've had a couple of people ask me about Hammerhead, because it is a darker blue with a teal alpha. You know, it has a gray modifier. I think it's reminiscent of Metro Midnight, but I think it's different. I think it's a great set. Go get it.
I think I think that the with what you're talking about with the white on black, black on white color sets, those are kind of like open ball game, right? Like, if you do something that severely differentiates yourself, like something like, say, a Redacted did, or even like, because, like, realistically, if someone wanted to run the same set as Minimal but change up the mods to do, say, icon mods, right? Like, that doesn't exist. It can exist in the fact that you have, like, the different child kits from other sets and you can do the extension kits, but you can't really make up that set initially. We need more sets like that, the basic sets. And I think there's proof in that with how well those sets do and how well the white on black does every time Drop has it up. So I think people should play more with it and maybe not get as upset if, like, it is close. Like, you're not, like you said, it's not really that crazy. There's not really a design as much that goes into doing something like that. You're putting two GMK stock colors together. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we will, as more and more key sets are getting developed, right? There's, I don't want to say there's finite, but because there are infinite key sets that can be developed, but there does, as more and more get developed, there are similarities, more and more similarities between a certain key set and a certain key set, you know, and it is finding that line of, like, hey, this is inappropriate, and, or I'm fine with it. You know, I think part of that depends on specific designers as well. You know, a big one was the waves and the SA Leviathan.
Yep.
Like, that was a big blow up. And I would say, like, sure, there were similarities, but I think there were enough differences that both of those were their own key set in their own right. But that's also my personal opinion. Obviously, there were feelings within that situation that were different. Some people get a little more offended and have a little more of a scarcity mindset to things, and feel like there's infringement. And I feel like there's space enough for both, especially now. Like, nothing's not really making MOQ, so, you know, nuance difference, sure.
Yeah, I think once you start playing outside of the black and white color spectrum of you know white to gray to black, I think that's kind of fair game, right? It's Dolch kind of has its spot, but I feel like, if two people want to go out and run two gray, like nines, and if someone wanted to pick a different gray and then just ran that, it's like, well, with something like nines, it was designed off of Boneyard. Obviously, those two exist. If someone picked a different color gray, well, it's like, well, this is a different color gray. They're both GMK colors.
Yeah.
And GMK color, to me, it's harder for me to justify something that's kind of basic like GMK colors. So like Dual Shot did it great, right? They picked GMK colors, but they did it in a very, very unique way to make it its own thing. But when I see something like, and I'm not hating on Deep Navy or this classic red sets, these sets that are coming out that are very much like, I want this color to be on a keycap set. It's easy. I've already got the colors. That's where I'm like, you start losing some of your, I guess, ability to argue with someone that like, hey, you can't run that because I already did this.
Yeah.
But you're still going to run into issues. And it's not, it does affect people, right? I think that it wouldn't affect people as much. It would affect people way more like 2 years ago. If two sets that were extremely similar came out. I think now the community is able to support a little bit more. It doesn't make it okay to just go out and rip off somebody else. But I will say one story of between I don't know if you've seen the classic 808 Boom set that Langlandia and CYO is doing. They were kind of working on the same set, and then they just decided, well, let's just work on it together.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that more. It's like, oh, I've kind of got this idea. Why don't we work on it together?
I think a similar thing happened with Minimal. I could be wrong on the set, but there were two. One was like paperwork, or one of them actually ran, and it was by Evan. But the other one was like paper something, and then there was, I don't know, some.
Oh, it wasn't Minimal. It was Eric. What's your favorite set? Monochrome. Yeah,
Monochrome. Yeah. Okay. And so they just kind of merged, and I think that's the appropriate answer here. Like you mentioned nines, and I know that it was derived from Boneyard, but there was a due diligence step in there where I think it was Amir that ran nines, went to Tom Barry and was like, hey, I really like Boneyard. I'm thinking of doing it this way, but with icon mods. Do I have your blessing? And Tom Barry said, yeah, go for it. And now we have Bones running as its own thing. And I think that's the appropriate thing, is that if it's ever nebulous, just ask. Most of us are very open-minded kind of community people, and I would say I would hope that the majority of people would give a blessing, unless it was a rip-off. Obviously, you're not going to go to Ren and be like, hey, can I run GMK Mizu R2? But if it's maybe one color in your palette is the custom blue that was from Mizu, and the other ones are very different, or it's like a full blue of that set, just ask.
Yeah, I think there's about like 80% of the issues that are derived in that like colors problems and key sets issues could be solved if people just were realistic about their sets. Because I think there's a lot of people who maybe get told, oh, this looks like this, and then they don't think of it in that way. Like they are reluctant to think so. I think if people are like, okay, I'm just going to talk to that person. I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to say, hey, I want to do this. And then they clear that up before.
Yeah, people are going to be way more open to an ask, because it shows that you're sensitive to the subject, rather than doing something and being like, oh, hey, whoops, can I run it?
Ask for permission, not for forgiveness.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm kind of an ask for forgiveness kind of guy, but
well, it's like the board that you were talking about, Cyrus, with Wilba. And they're like, we're using a Wilba PCB.
Oh yeah.
And Wilba was like, didn't know this.
No, you're not.
Guess what? No, you're not.
What board was that?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
It's one of those that it's such an easy common courtesy. I was designing a set that I pretty much gave up on because I realized that it was just there was no way to make it look good and different enough from Mizu. But I had these 3 colors, and I did a couple mock-ups, and I sent it to Rensuya, and I said, "Is this too close to Mizu?" And he says, "I don't care, go for it."
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. I've got my. It took 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I don't care."
Such a simple thing, and it will save a world of heartache and mech market flame posts. And the last thing we need is more people on RMK going ape shit over.
Hey, we love it. We love reporting on Spice.
It's funny. Sidious, I think is the name. Sidious9, thank you for the tier 1. Appreciate that, my dude. Yeah, it's really just an interesting situation, and I kind of want to kind of move this conversation into a set that has looked like something I've never seen before, and that is a set that you did the novelties for. GMK Gregory. How did you get involved in that project?
No one's copying GMK Gregory anytime soon.
If they do, I'll hit them. Greg Gang for life. Once you're in Greg Gang, you don't un-Greg Gang. Man, where do I start? So, I have a good friend named Ono, who is the significant other to Gasp, also a mod on the Apiary. And essentially what happened is I got this PM from the guys doing Gregory. I always slaughter the name because it reads like chameleon, but it's like cham and lemon. And he said, "Hey, I was talking to Ono about this set, and he mentioned that you might be able to help us out with novelties." And he's like, "Well, so," and he just kind of dropped like an initial render of Gregory, and I said, I'm in.
How do you say no to that?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, it's like, why would you not want to be a part of that? I'm a big fan of breaking rules. I said it earlier, and it breaks like every rule that ever existed.
Literally.
But it does it well. And, really, so they showed me the render, and we kind of brainstormed a few ideas just on how to make the kits a little bit more extensible to smaller layouts. And then we started working on the novelties, and it was so much fun. The pills, a paw. I know that there is some controversy on the pills, I guess. Some people are like, why are there pills on a keycap? It's a dog with a bunch of pills. Don't buy it. So yeah, I mean, it was just a grundle of fun, like working with those guys, trying to figure out how to do it. We did a few initially, and then I just kind of was having fun. I'm like, oh, let's do these eyes on this enter, and I'm so hyped for that set. Probably get like 4 of them.
All the Gregorys.
I mean, if Handerbit can do it, then Gregory, flawless.
Yeah.
I just imagine
it was a lot of fun.
I just imagine like you're at the office and you have your board, and your coworkers, they already know that you like spend crazy amounts of money on these like super crazy keyboards, and they walk in one day and they see that keycap set on your desk, and they're just like, is he gone mad? Is there something wrong with him? Should we be worried?
I mean, I'd like to hope that if you buy Gregory and you put it on your keyboard, your personality would have already given you away. Otherwise, I feel like you're flying so under the radar at work that you should go into the CIA. I just imagine somebody putting that on like an yellow canoe or something and just taking that into work, and it just looking so Fisher Price and amazing. Like a $800 Fisher Price dog face yellow keyboard.
Worth,
right? Because like ultimately it's a hobby. Why not have fun with it? I feel like a lot in a lot of aspects there's a little too much seriousness. In that there's certain rules and this and that. You know, and it seems like every year we get a little bit further from that. You know, I know that the old key set designer thing was like, oh, your F row needs to alternate. You know, F5 through 8 need to be the different color. That's how it's traditionally done. So the legends are correct. Make it a single color. Have fun with it. You know, just because it's what is traditionally done or the purest way of doing it, doesn't mean that the people that initially did it had any idea what they were doing either. You know, they're probably like, let's alternate it. Cool. You know, it's a 2-second decision that we then immortalize for the rest of key set design history. And it was really probably some 40-year-old nerd with a pocket protector flipping a coin on which one he liked most. Don't send me any hate mail if it was a different story.
I mean, it's one of those things too. It's like we've talked about it before, and I've said this before. These fun key sets that are a little bit crazy, like your Dots, like your Redacted, like your Gregory.
They're blowing up.
Well, they're blowing up, and they make you. It's like a relief, right? Like it's a fun little thing that makes you like you love those sets, but then it makes you also appreciate some of the other designs that come out as well, right? Like you simultaneously get to appreciate something that's crazy and something that is more traditional because there is such a variance between the two.
Yeah, it gives something for everybody, right? And it's to the point where if you don't like something, don't buy it because there's probably 5 other key sets running this month that you do like. And let the people that like something buy what they like, and you know, don't impose your wish, I guess, upon something that obviously has support behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if Vanderbeek can do it, like all bets are off.
Exactly. So I want to talk about Kaiju in regards to how your first set went. So your first set was Metropolis. It was a smashing success. It ran, I know it ran early 2018. Was it January? Was it that early?
No, it was also in March.
March. Okay. So March, your set that ran literally right before the keycap world exploded.
Yeah.
I feel like April of 2018 is always going to be the month where it's kind of like everything, and then everything changed. And you know, I know that Metropolis at that time was kind of a stray away from what a lot of other sets were doing, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that. I think you did a fantastic job on that. But now you're designing a set and you're like in the trenches because now you're having to fight 14 other sets a year later, which I imagine it was probably. I just want you to talk about your March of this year because I'm sure it was very different than your March of last year.
Phenomenally different. Man, where do I start? Essentially what how March got decided is that for those that don't know, after the Metropolis group I ran, I did post the interest check for Kaiju, and it had been kind of I don't want to say a lifelong because that's like, I don't know, that's a little too genuine. It had been a keyboard keycap designer fantasy of mine to have something on Mass Drop. When I entered the hobby, it was essentially Mass Drop or Bill's PayPal that you gave money to, right? Some weird, or Ivan, right? If we want to throw some more of that spice in there. unknown dude's PayPal that may or may not get locked down, that you may or may not get a key set out of, that you may or may not be missing every F8 in existence. And so Massdrop was it, right? So you just kind of bought everything from Massdrop. And so it was always this kind of like quasi reverence, like, oh, Massdrop is it. Like that's you've made it. Like, and so I posted the IC, and then I kind of hit up the Massdrop guys, and they were interested and said like, oh, okay, cool. We'll pencil you in, late this year or something. And then the way that they kind of run sets, it got penciled in for like early 2020. And I'm like, cool, sounds great. We'll talk a little bit more as it gets closer to that. And I think it was like December or January, I pinged them back and said, so
what's the plan?
They're like, oh, yeah, they're like, oh, March. We're thinking March. Okay. The little bit of frustration there is that I kind of had to ping them to have them tell me when things were running, rather than like, hey, this is when you're running. Like, had I waited until February 27th and been like, hey, when are we running? And they're like, oh, March 1st. Oh,
sick.
Sweet. Let me get that ready. And I didn't really think anything of it. My birthday's in March. I'm like, cool. It's basically a year from when we did Metro. And I think the group I started March 4th. And man, March 4th was great. March 5th was no bueno. And that's when basically the world went to shit, and 2020 stopped being about Tiger King and more started being about like, how do less people die? And so that was a little bit of a trip, running a set basically when the world isn't thinking about anything other than keyboards. Although remarkably, the keyboard community still didn't seem super phased by it. People were still, Modern Dolce was still going for $400 on Mech Market while people are losing jobs. So, I'm not blind to the fact that definitely impacted the run on Massdrop. Even myself, part of the fun of running Metro was also like shilling your own set, like posting it on Instagram, posting it to RMK, getting awareness out there. I didn't do nearly as much of that with Kaiju as I did Metro because I didn't feel comfortable. The world's erupting and I feel weird shilling something that's like little squares of overpriced plastic for a hobby when, like people are getting sick and people are dying and people are on lockdown and this and that.
It is weird because, like, obviously this just being a couple months ago when, we talked about it regularly of like, how is this going to affect the keyboard community? It is insane that it doesn't seem to have really affected it at all.
Well, maybe the numbers are a little bit lower,
Oh geez, you only sold 1,200 kits this year.
Yeah. Basically, it just knocked our numbers back a year. Whole industries are collapsing, but RMK is going up.
Yeah.
And we talked about how this hobby is already just an additional expense. This is something that's like one thing that we talked about when all of this started happening is that like it shouldn't be this huge problem because the people that are buying $150 keycap sets and $500 boards are typically the people that already are doing well enough to have that extra bit.
I think that's fair.
So, it comes and goes. And I know a lot of people who, times kind of hit, they offloaded all their stuff and then they were fine. They're like, I'm going to be good for like 3 months because I got rid of half my stuff. And
GMK sets were a good emergency fund.
I mean, hey, someone posted on Top Clack last week about they wanted to trade a keyboard for a Mazda Miata. So, hey, you know,
we've reached it. We've reached it.
Peak performance.
That poor Miata, locals only. He just shows up. Hey, can I have your title? Here you go.
Here's my pink slip, and here's my keyboard.
Here's my keyboard. You'll have to program it. No keycaps included. It's wild. It's wild. You know, but so surprisingly through March, I think Kaiju was, I think, just under 600 base kits, which is, you know, I'm fine with that.
Solid.
For a Gatorade colored keycap set that not everybody preferred. Orange is like the pariah of keycap colors.
You hit both pariahs. I feel like green and orange are the two colors that people are just like.
If you threw in brown, you would have gotten the trifecta.
I put them together with Weeb Legends. Although I'm not going to say Weeb Legends because it's Godzilla, right?
It's appropriate.
Hopefully nobody over the IP is listening because it's not Godzilla, it's Kaiju. You know, so basically it's like the triumvirate of things people don't prefer. Alphas that are very discolored from the modifiers, Japanese sub-legends by default. You know, I'm happy with the numbers that it did given all of that. And I knew that going into it. You know, the set was never designed in the business of, you know, a 2000 base kit run in appealing to everybody. Kind of what I mentioned before. You know, the things that appeal to everybody, they have to kind of toe that line between like simple enough to work with a lot of stuff, but also have some interest in them. And I broke a lot of that with Kaiju on purpose because I wanted to make a fun set that for some people was like, I'm in it, you know?
Yeah.
And partially that's why I was so surprised that Metro did as well as it did, because I thought that, you know, for what Metro was, it kind of broke some of that as well. Even in the IC, everybody's like, it's going to turn out black. It's solarized dark all over again. Granted, it kind of ran during the height of keycap color matching.
Yeah.
You know, we had Necro, we had solarized dark.
So you know what's funny? Real quick on that. So I have my little switch tester, right? This is just like the switches I really like. I have both the salt for Necro and Plum sitting on this. Yeah, I thought about this the other day. I was like, I've got the two memeiest sets.
Well, it's funny because people, you know, if you were new, if you had not been in the community when those sets came out, or you didn't know the history of those sets, you like from the outside looking in, you would think that right now we are in that same like area where, oh, sets are coming out. They're not what they look like, or what the renders look like. Everything is way off. You know, we should be upset. And it's like, right now, sets might be a little bit off, but it is in no way, shape, or form as bad as Plum, Necro, Solarized Dark.
Fight me. Include muted accent colors on there.
Muted accent colors.
Accent colors. Everyone loves muted accent colors. Nothing like the renders.
Well, and the you know, I come from a graphics background. The hard thing is that, like, realistically, you cannot convey accurate colors over renders. You can do an approximation, but there's always going to be nuanced differences. And that's something that you just fundamentally can't get around because you're looking at something that's fake, that's rendered on a screen. All screens are different versus something like ABS plastic that behaves significantly differently in a physical form. And, you know, some colors are better suited to it and some aren't. You know, usually the culprit is saturation issues, right? You look at Mizu, the alphas could have been a little less saturated. You know, GMK does tend to come out a little bit more saturated than it should be. So it lends itself to more saturated sets. typically like those pastel colors have not come quite as close. Mizu, Peaches and Cream, probably the most recent one. There's a lot of concern for Dracula. I think that's why the samples are taking quite a lot of time, is that there was a shit ton of Dracula sold. So you don't want to screw it up, but to expect it coming out 1-to-1 to what certain people are seeing on the screen, I think is a little unrealistic. And go into it with a small understanding that it does fluctuate.
Room for error.
Room for error. Would I say that like Necro, Solarized Dark, and Plum fall within room for error? Not even close, right? That's like purposeful error. Not that it was on purpose, but like
it looked like
over.
People say, "Oh, Peaches and Cream and Mizu." I'm like, no, don't. It could be Necro.
Well, Peaches and Cream is not very close. It is different. You can like the set, but you have to understand that it is significantly different from the renders.
It's not. I don't think it's significantly different. I can hold it up to 3 different monitors. It's close. It's not Necro bad.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing is Necro bad. Necro is a light blue and a like pea green difference.
Yeah.
Like it's, so when I do see, yes, Peaches and Cream, it's also a hard set, but yeah, like you said, there has to be that room for error because you're also a lot of times, it's hard to look at plastic it's hard to look at a freaking t-shirt on a computer screen, and it might be slightly different when you get it on there.
Well,
so
part of that is also, in my opinion, part of that is process, right? So currently, like the process for GMK is you get samples in, and the samples are single keycaps. So it's just a blank. It's essentially a blank, right? So like Kaiju's first round of samples should be in here this week or next week. I was hoping to have them by this, but they didn't arrive. The hard thing is it's like painting a house. If your legend color is on a field of color, then that color that you're approving in real use is significantly smaller and thinner than the color of the keycap that it's entering, and it can be modified by that. So if you put a white inside like a black, right, or your perception of it becomes different. White and black probably are perceived the best because the contrast is so high, but when the contrast gets lower, the one kind of invades the other in terms of how your eye perceives the color. And so in the print world, what you do is you get a final sample, which is basically in the keycap world would be like a full run of keycaps, like GMK sending me a full base kit so I can improve the colors. And that doesn't happen. And so that is where there is room for a margin of error, is that you are not looking at certain colors in their final state. You're essentially looking at like the Home Depot chips of wall paint color, and then you put it on the wall and you're like, wow, that's a lot more pink than this chip.
Yeah, that's what someone in chat right now has literally just said. Like, I put the paint on the wall, and halfway through, I went back to the store.
Yeah, you're looking at something that is, 1.5 inches by 2 inches, and saying like, I like that color, and then when you throw it on something that's 12 foot by 20 foot, you're like, oh shit, that's Pepto-Bismol. I wanted, I wanted hipster blush, and. So you kind of have to either anticipate that or approximate it. And so, the rule of thumb with painting a wall is that you pick the color you like, and then you go like a shade or two lighter. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of at least my rule of thumb. Granted, I've only had one set ship with color matching, so I'm maybe not the expert on this, but especially with like a pastel color, I would imagine you pick the color you like and go a couple shades lighter. Mm-hmm.
What's your thought process of, or what do you think of what we've been seeing lately with, I know Dixie has done this, Project Keyboard has done this, where they'll send the caps to like a color scientist along with like RAL chips or Pantone chips?
I think that that's a step in the right direction. I think the hard thing there as well is that, how are you picking those RAL chips? You're picking the RAL chips in the same way that you're approving the GMK caps. You're essentially looking at like a fan, right? So if I pull out like a RAL fan and I say, cool, I want this color, right? I'm looking at it in a solid, that might actually be the Kaiju color. I don't know. You're looking at it in a solid color, but you're not looking at it as a legend color in a smaller thing. And so you're kind of still picking it. You're still picking it in the same manner that you're approving those caps. And again, in the print world, if you're going to spend a couple $100,000 like printing the cover of something, you pick it and then you take a look at the cover as a final print sample and calibrate that and say like, okay, even the initial one, did I pick that correctly, or do we have to adjust it? And so I think that it's all fine, but that adjustment step still doesn't happen because you're never seeing the set as it is until it ships out.
Yeah.
And so I think until that happens, there's still going to be a little more margin for error than were that to function in a different way.
Yeah,
but
I know color matching is just such a strange process to me because the issue is it's because it's in the group by format, right? It's something that doesn't exist. It'd be way easier to go, hey, I bought 2,000 sets of this, and then you can go, oh, I see how that looks, I want that. So that frustration does come from you're spending a bunch of money on something that doesn't exist, and then the person has to make it exist based off of computer pictures.
The part of the thing is like now there's more things that have to kind of come into being. So people are running keycap sets and then they're having artisans run with it, where the artisans are color matching, or they have desk pads and they have all of these things. The notion that a desk pad, a resin artisan, an ABS keycap set, a digitally printed banderole for the keycap set are all going to come out having exactly the same blue is not going to happen. Because there's no master reference point, because you're trying to land 4 planes at the same time, and the best way to do it would be to make the key set, land the key set, and then you can actually match everything to the key set and say you can adjust it. But until then, everything's being worked on independently and under so many different manufacturing processes that it's unrealistic. So speaking to that point, when Kaiju launched, we had the Kaiju desk mat launch, and then it actually got pulled back because it was too teal. And it was a bit too teal, but the hard thing there is that desk mats, the way that they're made, they have a little bit of a sheen to them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you photograph them in very bright studio lighting, that sheen will actually reflect back a slightly different color than you would normally perceive. So you're looking at a photo and saying that's too teal, but that's a lot due to lighting and reflection. But how do you convey that? You can tell people that it's a little more teal, so we pulled that back. I pulled that drop. We got some new samples, and those samples that we've gotten now that are in the discussion on the Kaiju desk pad group buy or drop page are a lot more accurate. Are they going to be 1-to-1? And the answer is I don't know, because I don't have the key set. Right? I don't have the samples to the key set. You can't match the desk pad unless you have approved samples to get 1-to-1, and so you're really trying to make best guess approximations on what is kind of the commonality, because the desk pads are printed with CMYK JPEGs, and the keycap set is made with a RAL chip. It's like trying to eat an apple and an orange and hope they both taste the same.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, what you said earlier, desk mats, cloth, your ABS plastic, resin.
Right.
Someone said cables earlier, so now you got paracord thrown in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, now they don't have to be perfectly the exact same.
Paracord manufacturers, they make the colors. You know, you're not, as far as I'm aware, nobody's going to a paracord manufacturer and giving them a Pantone chip and saying, I need custom paracord. You know, you can kind of temper it by putting Tech-Flex over it. You know, we did that with the Metro ones. Spastic Cables and I, when we were picking colors, is like, oh, the teal's a little hot, but if we put, you know, I think it was like clear, or if we did one teal with the teal Tech-Flex over it, it got a little closer.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to trick the eye a little bit. And, you know, so I guess the short answer is that until things are not expected, kind of what you said, Chewy, like the group by format prevents true color matching of everything.
Yeah.
And so you just have to kind of temper your expectations a little bit on that. That doesn't mean that you can't be upset if you receive Solarized Dark. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's why I said this the other week. Round twos are always going to do better because physical products will sell better than a picture on the internet, a render on the internet. So
and the funny thing is, you know, that this is kind of community philosophy, and I know that we just had an incident. I think it was last week around this. The whole in stock issue, right? I know there was an issue with the NK65. So there was a little known set called SA Abyss.
Yep.
That came out in 2017.
Owned it and sold it.
Right? Came out in 2017. And for those that weren't around back then, basically this unknown vendor designed, produced, and got shipped to them a Signature Plastics SA set. And then they posted into RMK, they said, hey, look, this set's available. And people went ballistic. They basically ran them out of the community because they did not do it in a group buy format. They actually bought something, waited the 6 months, probably spent a couple $100,000 buying something, waiting, getting it in stock to try and combat the, at the time, problem with the community where people didn't want to wait for something. And so they removed that out of the equation, bought something, it was in stock. Yeah, it was a little more expensive than doing it at a group buy. I wouldn't say it was horrendous though. It was a full base kit of SA caps for, I think it was $180. It was way cheaper than anything on Mech Market at the time, and maybe only 20, 25, 30 bucks more expensive than a group buy at the time. And people lost their minds. They were like, what, how dare you have something in stock? This is in stock. They were so confused. They didn't know what to do with themselves. And those guys didn't run any sets ever again. And Abyss is a great set. It was one of my first big keycap purchases. And I love it. I still have it. It's on my Elephant, which was my number 2 answer of keycap
favorite, yeah.
And so part of that is just like the community, I think, doesn't really know what they want, right? Mm-hmm. Mike did the same thing with the NK65, and he guesstimated the number of units in the best way possible on going over what was initially gauged as interest from the open group buy. And he got absolutely flamed for it. And that's not appropriate. Yeah. Like that's just bitching for the sake of bitching. Because people don't like the group buy aspect either, because they don't necessarily want to wait for it. You know, so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Which is unfair on either end.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I don't really know what the answer is. Originative used to do kind of the in stock, where they get it and then you just kind of have it and you buy it. And you knew that when originative, I don't know why that's so difficult.
Oko's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. When they had it, it was going to be a little bit more, but you knew you could get it basically for United States Postal Service first class shipping, which is 4 days instead of 8 months. And it $180. Like, I'll pay that, sure. Yeah. If it's a set that I like, I'd prefer it to go to group buy because I don't mind waiting. But then you get to see exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. So
the only way around it.
Hopefully the community can land on something. I do think we are not too far away from, not, and I say not too far away, a couple of years, but not too far away from people going, from someone like Dixie going, I ordered 2,500 sets of Modern Dolch. Here they are. They're on my site. I think that'd be fine. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, but I don't think we are that far away from that idea.
Especially for sets like a Modern Dolch or a Minimal, like sets, like I feel like you can almost safely assume at this point those sets that are huge, right? Like even like a Dracula or Olivia, like sets that have always been popular since they came out and they have not stopped being popular. You can realistically purchase, 1,000 of them, get them in stock, make a little bit extra money, charge, even more than what extras would be because it's like, hey, I have this. Because I don't think that that's unfair at all. But it's one of those things. It goes back to the holy crap, that's a lot of money. What happens if they just sit?
Yeah.
And so the companies all have to be so established on the other end of like having a lot of capital from group buys, from other products, in order to make that work. Because I know a lot of vendors are worried that everything is kind of on a bubble. And once it pops, if they go in too deep, it's going to be, they're going to be screwed basically.
Yeah, and part of that is like picking your poison a little bit, right? Like, and I think that your analogy worked. Like it really works for sets that have already run. There's already physical references out there. It's not changing at all, right? Now, if they had bought $400,000 worth of, sorry, Solarized Dark, I'm just going to keep using you.
Just beat it down.
Yeah, sorry. Share the love. Say we spend $500,000 on Necro, and it comes out looking like Necro, right? Damn.
Have fun being in debt. Have fun with your children being in debt.
Like that's rough. That's rough. So, but if you ran the group buy for Necro and it came out great and people are into it, so it wouldn't be Necro, it'd be Modern Dolch, right? We already had, it was super, there weren't that many kits sold when it sold or when the group buy ran. The community was much smaller, but the R2 is just barely finished. I think it's done.
It just wrapped up a couple days ago.
Probably sold a shit ton.
Biggest set of all time.
Yeah, it's the biggest set of all time at the moment.
There you go. Not surprised. Dixie's marketing also crushes it.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
I don't know what Dixie's doing with marketing.
Dixie merch over there. Beer makes me not want to walk over there.
Boom.
There you go. This episode brought to you by Dixie Mag. If that's in stock, it's going to sell because it's already been proven. People know exactly what it's going to look like because there's been a round for physical samples, and there's no question because then we just match those samples and reproduce it. And I think that's fine. And I think we are, to your point, getting to the stage in which there's going to be some in-stock stuff. We're already seeing that with, I guess, what I'm going to say, less premium keycap sets. Infinity. Novel Keys just dropped some PBT sets that are just in stock, ready to go. The hard bit is that the price point of GMK sets and the time it takes to get them, it could be a different world. If you spent $500,000 on a GMK buy to do like a sneaky sale in 2021, you don't know what the climate's going to be.
Yeah.
So you have to have the capital to do that. Probably Dixie and Novelties are the only vendors set up to even be close to that scenario.
Yeah.
But we have seen Drop do it with White on Black. Sells out every time, right? And people appreciate that because it's a classic enough set that they know it's going to sell, right? Nobody's not going to want and I think they sell them for like $90 or $100.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a super small kit, but you still get everything.
You get enough unless you've got like an ISO Alice with Culverac or something like that, right? But for the layman that has probably a TKL, a 65, a 60, it's $90. You get my number 2 set ever made. Goes well with any board you're going to have, unless it's a brown anodized board. And
simple math.
Right. That's not going to be a bad to me. That seems low risk for a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will get to that point. And I think the community will be appreciative of having both options.
Yeah. So shifting gears just a smidge, we talk GMK obviously is the king of the kingdom of keyboards right now when it comes to keycaps and keycap sales. But I want to talk about, so we've seen recently, I feel like every set that comes out, there's a new problem now.
Yeah.
We've had legend issues. Now we're seeing what I've never seen, which is we're seeing warped space bars, which is something that, I know a lot of people had that issue with black on white EPBT, which that set was like the huge, hey, we've got this gigantic base set of $100, and so everybody gobbled them up, and then all the shift keys and space bars were super bent and warped, and there's fixes, but I firmly believe things should just kind of work when you get them out of the box. So if I got a couple keycaps that were warped, and I was pretty upset about it because I was like, I shouldn't have to fix it. It should just come here. But that I always felt GMK was kind of out of the way of that, and now we're starting to see issues.
So I guess my feelings are that it's a fairly well known that PBT sets have always had spacebar warping issues, right? And from what I gather, that's just part of it. The manufacturing process being a little too hot, it's a long key, it's hard to get it as flat as it needs to be. QC issues because PBT manufacturers are operating at a much different price point, what have you. And I agree with you. The old adage was kind of, oh, it's GMK, you pay the premium for the quality control. Sorry, I'm going to turn the light on real quick. The sun is now setting. So you pay the premium because you get the quality control. You know that it's gonna hit the mark. And the only thing that I can kind of surmise from GMK's quality control issues is kind of a supply and demand, right? Like if GMK is the golden goose, are we choking the goose a little bit? Because with the increase in some of the QC issues we've seen from GMK, it's kind of come in line with the increase in group buys we seem to be sending their way and the outcry of deadline slippage, right? It used to be like we were talking about earlier, you have one GMK group buy every couple months or one a month, and the shipping timelines were 6 months, and we were hitting those just fine. And then we entered into how many vendors? Half a dozen vendors times 1 to 2 GMK sets. They went from having an influx of 12 kits a year, let's say, to
12 kits a month.
12 kits a month.
Right?
And not to mention, not just 12 kits, but of those 12 kits, that may have added up to about 2 months worth of caps.
Right?
Because now you're selling 5,000 kits, which might not have been sold in 8 months.
Right. I'm sure that Modern Dolch, its new record, I don't know what the number is, I'll have to look it up. Best-selling kit of all time. It probably sold as many GMK kits as like all of 2017 sold, or 2016 sold in GMK kits. That's a massive uptick. Is there equipment set up for that? Do they have enough employees for that?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually you kind of reach a maxing out where something's got to give, or there's a transition period where they are trying to get some more machines up or more staff. I know that they did have an employee leave, not this year, but it was early last year. There's a lot of things that can kind of account for stressing a manufacturer out, and kind of coming from that world. The more you stress them out, the more there's going to be things that get through the cracks.
Yeah.
A mold issue or a warped spacebar could be because they're running the machine. I don't have as much insight into the actual manufacturing of it, but they could be running the machine faster. I know that certain board runs that have tried to crank out too many boards in too small a time, or have gone with like a Chinese mill house that have had a lot of work. When they run the CNCs too fast, you get striations in the aluminum, right? Or if they're doing too much ano back to back, you can get strange fades, things like that. And I don't see this as being much different. Our demand is 10 times what it was. Is GMK 10 times the manufacturing house that it was? Probably not.
Not even close, really.
Right. Does that necessarily excuse the problems? I don't know that I have an appropriate answer, because at the end of the day, somebody suffers, right? And the thing that we often don't account for in kind of the consumerism of this hobby is the human capital cost of, is somebody having to pull like a full holiday weekend to repress out a icon mod enter because the line's a little too skinny or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like, well, GMK had issues before, but they were much more nuanced. I think there were some issues with occasional sets.
It was like a forgetting a legend or something like that.
Yeah.
And and they'd make it right. I can't quite remember. I think the latest round of Oblivion Get had like some kerning issues on a legend or something like that.
Because that happened right around the same time that Waves had the floating sea.
Yeah, and kudos to GMK for doing what they can to make it right. I know it makes it like absolutely miserable for the vendor, because they have to get single keycaps and somehow essentially lose $8 in shipping to send people single keycaps, or withhold caps and then like drop in the base kit and then like a little dime bag of your F8 and keep on that beat. and the vendors don't necessarily have the warehouse space to keep 2,000 base kits ready to ship in their thing. It's kind of like this top-down frustration, and I know that everybody feels it, from the person that bought the keycap set to the vendor that's having to store it and deal with logistics. And does the margin on the set allow for the increase in manpower all the way back? I don't have enough of a line of sight on all of it to really gauge my answers. But I guess my general feeling on that is to understand that it's not that it was done on purpose. It's probably an oversight, and that some of that oversight is due to our increasing demands and our hyper focus on things needing to be perfect in an imperfect process in an imperfect world.
It'll be interesting to see how they react to this, because we've always been told, oh, we're just a blip on GMK's overall radar, like the overall business of what they do. And it's very obvious now with the amount of caps. Like if you just do the math, the amount of sheer revenue and business that is going to them just from this community, like it's insane. Like Brez, our mod, was talking about, he had put together a sheet. It was almost 100,000 kits last year over 74 different GMK sets, which is insane.
Damn, right? Take that back to 2016 when it was like, what was running in 2016? Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Carbon.
It was like 6 or 7, maybe.
Right? Like the original Bork Triumph Adler. Like weird sets that like you were lucky to get custom color MOQ on, right? Is a huge uptick. And I know that at least back then, the hobby as we know it, the enthusiast hobby, was not where GMK's business was, right? Their business is very much in industrial manufacturing, mass market manufacturing of keyboards, things like that. But now we're increasingly carving that out and making a space for ourselves. And I'm sure that what was once kind of their indulgence into the fun side of the hobby is now a significant stream of revenue for them, with increasing complexity. You've got novelties, you've got custom color matching, right?
Tray differences and all that.
Right. And I know that they're working on a lot of that, but I kind of liken it to like your grandma's Thanksgiving dinner, where it's been the same for 30 years, and then all of a sudden she has a bunch of grandkids that are glucose intolerant and there's like all these requests that are coming out. Like, oh my God, eventually there's going to be like a piece of bread that slips up into something else because it's your grandma. And
I'm still waiting. I want this to happen so bad. I want someone to get a set that has keys from a different set in the box.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen. I
can't wait for the day where someone opens up like Modern Dolch Light and what's another set they're in April or March?
Kaiju.
Yeah, Kaiju. So someone opens up Modern Dolch, and then the second tray is just Kaiju. Just we're like, cool, I've got Modern Dolch with orange space bars. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with these.
Hey, look, cool accent colors. It's gonna be one of those mashups. Put the photo on Reddit, and it's gonna blow up, and soon everybody's gonna want both. It'll be like Mr. Sleeves all over again.
I do want to, before we get into Apiary is Dying to Hear, I do want to ask one last question about Metropolis. Metropolis I've seen is being used blended with other sets quite often. So what are your thoughts on, like, I've seen so many different people go, oh, I put this with Metropolis, or I put this with this Metropolis. And what are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I have a ton of GMK caps, and I love kind of combining them around and seeing like what matches with what. Like I was saying earlier, I think we're getting to the point where there's similarities in a lot of things that you can kind of fool the eye a little bit. If you put something that's somebody will probably take like I don't know, deep navy or something and put Metropolis with it because the base color may be somewhat similar, or you could take Metro and put it with Mizu Alphas or something. That's part of the fun of the hobby is mixing and matching and making something. Ultimately, I think everybody's end goal is to make a keyboard that they feel is unique to them and unique in the world, right? That's why we have so much hype around things that are limited stock, right? If there's 5 of something, people are like, oh my God, I gotta have it because they want to have a board that they can say this is mine and there is nothing else like this. This is one of one. And mixing and matching is a way that a lot of people achieve that. Like I am the only person that has this KBD 19X that has Metro plus X on it with this artisan on it. If you see a photo, it's mine. And that just comes from humans seeking individualism. And, I think that's what key sets were made to do. Mm-hmm. You have even down to boards. I've seen people taking boards and swapping tops and bottoms. So someone has a different color top, someone has a different color bottom. So I have no problem with that, and a lot of times it looks great. Most of what I've seen is people doing the Metro Alphas. They'll take the dark blue and the teal, and they'll put it with some different modifiers. Great. I've seen some that look really nice. I've seen some that don't look nice, but that's my opinion. And if they think it looks nice, great. I think that's even easier to do with some of the more boring sets, right? You can take a beige modifier or a white on black or a black on white and put it with something else. It is funny. I think you mentioned this earlier, Osiris, like running minimal with icon mods. There hasn't been a set that actually did it, but you can combine sets to do it. And we're seeing more of these like just modifier sets or just alphas, like the Korean alphas, which I know had some GMK Legend issues and that it had like the tear dropping that people noticed. I have it. I don't mind it. But the people are making smaller kits specifically for that purpose. Like you cannot buy this kit and just put it on a keyboard without another GMK set. So it's starting to be more and more encouraged. Even things like other kits where if people have a separate alpha kit, they're adding a tab in there so that that can be used elsewhere. Or you can outfit 2 kits. Or just making sure that if you have a separate alpha kit, you include like the F-row cluster if it alternates. Oblivion did a good job of that. I bought on Oblivion round 2, I bought the white alphas and the F-rows so that I can basically take that and put white alphas on any set with modifiers. I think it's fun. It encourages play rather than like sticking to exactly what somebody bought.
Which is like kind of the lifeblood of the hobby too, if you think about it, like customization,
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason people are sending boards to Caustic Customs to spend $400 to get an anno job, right? Because they want their board that they love that keyboard. They want it to be even more unique to them. I would say that philosophically, like that is the core of the hobby is everybody loves keyboards, but more than keyboards as a general, everybody loves having a keyboard that they feel is personal to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So you have worked with Apiary on an upcoming set that has not been spoiled. I did exchange words with Apiary that we can't release too much, but she is leaving the ball in your court. I know you worked with novelties for it, so however much you want to give away, you can. That is, Apiary has given you that power.
Oh shit! Heavy lies the crown. So Gasp and I have worked on a set, and I did the novelties for it. And what I'm going to say is, it's going to be dope, and you're going to want it. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Ooh.
These are probably some of my favorite novelties that I've ever made. They are up everyone's alley, or should be, but they're specifically up our alley, being a very kind of graphics abstract guy. If you like the Metro novelties, you'll probably like these.
Mm-hmm.
If you like a magic wand on an enter key, don't look at this set.
Dot. A
little bit of spice in there. I'm excited.
It's gonna be good. Now the ball is in her court. When's that fucking IC coming?
She did say earlier, AKA very, very soon, as long as the renders get in. So hopefully, excited. For those who do not follow Apiary Keyboards, please go follow her. She does amazing keyboard content. Excited to see, we've seen some products like, stickers and stuff like that, merch really come from her, but haven't seen a whole lot of keyboard stuff coming. So I'm excited to see a keycap set. I would love when I get to see, like, Mentorly had Bliss and what's the purple one?
Eternal,
thank you, Cat Eternal, and then Odos just ran his set on the Key Company. So I love seeing when content creators kind of start releasing stuff out into the world. So excited for that. Also, Apiary is not a vendor. Apparently that needed to be said. I saw that on her Instagram the other day.
You sponsored me.
Yeah, please sponsor me. Give me a keyboard. I mean, we get that. We got that a couple months ago.
Yeah,
someone, hey, will you give us a keyboard? We're an esports organization. And it's like,
no,
I've never.
I will say, so I got my first one though. So I released a keyboard. I'm doing the interest check for a keyboard that I'm running. And I got my first one. I got my first, hey, I work for this. I do this. Please send me one for free. And I'll be sure to give you lots of praise. I have no way of responding to it, but I was just like, you didn't give me any information to respond to you. I was like, you didn't give me any information for me to respond. I mean, you gave me like a name, but I was like, I'm not gonna look you up. And so, but hey, Apiary, I think I probably speak for Osiris and I if Mexon Deck will sponsor Apiary Keyboards as long as Apiary Keyboards sponsors Mexon Deck.
Hey, down for that.
Both sponsored by Nephlock and Dick.
Oh, easy.
Ooh.
Koozies for life.
So, and yeah, I will say also, it makes me happy because I like what you said at the very beginning. Whenever you say, "Oh, I love this set. This is my favorite set," yada yada, and when people send you pictures of their boards, our mod and Osiris and I's very close personal friend in real life, his board that his board that he uses the most is a board that I designed with Metropolis on it. And so, and I love that he uses it all the time. And then it's even better that it's like, boom. And now we got your set on there. And he was a big entrepreneur of getting you on our show and then helping us lead into the direction of doing interviews. So that board is very special.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love. For me, that's what the hobby's about, right? Is making memories that are kind of keystone points in the hobby. I showed the board at the very beginning, which is my favorite board, and it's my favorite board A, because I love it, great board, but B, because of the sentimental value of working on it with people who I've forged relationships with. You know, and it's individual to us, to the 4 people that worked on it. You know, and if it weren't for moments like that, I probably wouldn't. It'd just be kind of another passing hobby and less of like a lifestyle, I guess. Which seems a little weird. It seems a little like, I don't know what lofty to call it a lifestyle, but I think at this point it probably is.
We're definitely getting there.
Well, it's much more of like, as weird as it sounds, it's much more of an emotional connection, not just to the products, but also to the people involved. Whereas a lot of other hobbies are like maybe also sentimental, like for you personally, but they don't have that same emotional connection and an attachment to a community in the same way.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, I've got other hobbies, but they're kind of more like that, like kind of something that I do, rather than something that defines me a little bit more. And at this point, I would say that, like when people ask me, "Oh, well, what do you do?" It's like, well, I'm a designer. I work for this company, but I also do keyboard stuff. You know, I gave a seminar at my old design program up at Utah State a few months. I think it was like 2 weeks before COVID hit. And like the first half was about what I did after graduation, and the second half was about like the importance of personal projects. And it was really just this like keyboard love fest where I'm like, hey, look what you did. And I brought a bunch of keyboards and stickers, and I'm like, I did this, you know, you could do this too. So, and having been in this hobby for 5-ish years, you know, it's lasted longer than most of my other hobbies, specifically for those reasons.
Yeah, I think Osiris, other than music, because that's a little bit different, I think this hobby is coming up on about to beat Magic. So
yeah, well,
it's getting real close.
I had 2 goes at Magic for me.
Yeah,
but,
as well as I did, but the heavier investment whenever you have that's the worst part about turning like 20 in between 20 and 22 is you're like, wait, I have hobbies and I have money. What is this?
I was just gonna say, Magic never leaves. You're only
just long extended breaks.
You come back after I got into a previous phase of Magic 4 years ago or 5 years ago or something, after not really playing it since like high school or junior high. And I went and dug up like all my old Magic cards, and I'm like, oh, I have dual lands.
Ooh, there you go.
Keyboards. So you're basically like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're like, oh, old Magic cards make money. Buy plastic, buy resin, buy keyboard. Keyboard become lifestyle.
Keyboard lifestyle now. I will say desk mats would be amazing for playing Magic on.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what? I got a whole bunch of samples back there in that. I call this the room of requirement keyboard edition.
I have one too. I have one that's open this way, but
you're like, oh, cool. We got artisans, desk mats, key sets, multimeters. But it's so, look how skinny that thing is. It's like 3 feet wide, and I've got so much shit in there that every time I try and get something, I invariably like knock something down. And my wife always makes fun of me because it'll be like a Saturday afternoon, and all of a sudden she'll just hear me cursing up a storm, and she'll come up and she knows that I was trying to get something at the bottom of that closet and just knocked everything down.
Yeah, it is interesting because like Magic is one of those hobbies, just like a lot of the ones that I've been in, where I think about it and I'm like, man, I'd like to get back into that. I'd like to do that again. And then I look at like what it costs and like the time that it takes to like actually try to like be good at like Magic or something else. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I've got other stuff that I'd rather do.
Well, and I also feel like that's something like keyboard's something you can independently get into, right? You can, because you're making something for you, Where Magic, it's like, cool, I have to play against somebody else, right? And you can't get better. And if you have to find somebody that's also like as good, if not slightly better in some ways and slightly worse in some ways. So like Eric and I were a great matchup because we played two different styles, and neither, we would build different decks, and then certain decks would do really well, and it was always, and also we're very, very competitive people, although Osiris is literally the most competitive individual I've ever met in my entire life. True words. He goes, I don't like playing online Magic because I have to see them face to face when I beat them. So, but that's that's one of those hobbies kind of you have to experience together with somebody else. So it's a lot. It's a bit different, and you don't want to just go and get your teeth punched in magically. And then you're like, cool, I'm glad I spent $300 on this.
A 12-year-old, and he just had some weird like burn deck, and I'm just like, oh, cool, I'm just drawing cards, and you win. Here you go, kid.
I'll just go home and cry on my keyboards.
Right. I have keyboards worth more than you have in your savings account.
You play the deck that you lose, and you're like, what just happened? Like, and then you ask the guy, is there literally anything I could have done? No. Just like, no. Sick. Thanks.
I read on Reddit this was the best deck ever invented. I net decked it.
Net decking. That's I forgot about that.
I always like doing the like the booster box parties.
Yeah.
Like that's always when I had my most fun, right? Is you do the booster box draw parties, and really it's just a bunch of people with decks that make no sense.
Yep.
And you're just trying to like gum each other to death.
We did. I think peak Magic for us was the cube. We built a cube.
Oh, nice.
And we would draft the cube over and over and over, and so it was always slightly different. And
right,
that was like a weekly thing with like 6 of us. So
well, it's kind of. I mean, I think there's analogies to the keyboard community in that, you can either get lost in the hype, and really at that point it's not about keyboards at all.
Yeah.
Or you can just have fun in the actual hobby and community aspect of it and look for the satisfaction in it in the various ways, rather than, because to me, that's what net decking is nobody wants to actually invest in the hobby. They just want, whoa, my camera's like.
Yeah,
there we go. If they're net decking, they're not investing in the hobby. They just are maybe lonely and they just want to win and punish somebody,
It'd be like that.
Yeah.
And that's, it does have that other parallel, which I know I speak for Osiris. And when I say this, whenever we went to a Magic tournament, we had way more fun doing everything outside of the actual tournament. It was way better doing the side events, what we did at night, what we did in the morning, the traveling. Like that was all way more memorable. I couldn't tell you anything about the actual tournament. But I had we went to Oklahoma City, and is still one of the best little trips we've ever taken. We did the Houston meetup, and we did the NorCal meetup, and the actual meetup, it was fine. Everything outside of the meetup was amazing.
Speaking of meetups, can I get an F in chat for KeyCon?
Like, we were so stoked. I was so stoked.
The F in chat for the Austin Key Crawl last fall.
Yeah. It's
my 2019 got completely borked because I didn't go to KeyCon because I'm like, I'm going to go to Seattle. And then there was like a family engagement over the Seattle meetup. And so I'm like, oh, well, I can't go to Seattle, but I'll go to the Key Crawl. Because and so I held out for that, and then it didn't happen. I'm like, well, shit. Okay. And then the Utah one didn't happen. And then KeyCon didn't happen, and it got delayed. And it got delayed over to the date where I'm going to be in Canada for my anniversary. But now I think the Canada trip might not happen.
I don't think the KeyCon's going to happen either.
Just rip KeyCon.
Yep.
Pour one out, boys.
2021. Can only go up, right? So guys,
2021.
If you guys have any questions, please just hit @MechsOnDeck, and we will answer them accordingly for either Mr. Nephlock himself or Osiris and myself as well. So, but you guys are looking like twins the more I look at you, by the way.
Both got the pocket shirt on.
Yeah, it's the pocket shirt. You just need to, there you go. You just need to wear a hat, Osiris.
Have any hats that are
there it is. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Now we're full. There we go.
I love it. Okay, so has anyone told you look like David Cross?
No, and I don't know whether to be offended or to be never nude. I thought about maybe before this, like bicking my head and doing the whole Norbauer thing.
Oh yeah.
And then I decided no.
You could have been a young Heisenberg,
There you go.
Maybe I'm shit at chemistry, but
someone says, "Where is Apiary?" Says, "Where's Murph?"
It is the middle of the summer, and he is full outside cat right now. I don't think I've seen him in 2 days. Probably out trying to kill squirrels. Murph is my cat.
Noted. I gathered that it wasn't like your child or something.
That would have been a little bit interesting.
Outside for 2 days.
All those articles that you've been reading on BuzzFeed about house cats depleting the natural population of small indigenous animals. It's pretty much all about my cat. We have a cat door that reads his microchip, and so it'll let him in and out at will, but it won't let the raccoons in. But it can't detect whether he has a live or dead animal in his mouth. So he will bring in, it'll be 3 a.m. and all of a sudden there's a live bird.
Just a dying bird just on the ground.
Oh, they're not even dying. He'll bring them in and they're fully alive.
They're just hanging out.
He brought in a woodpecker last year, like a big woodpecker. I don't know how the hell he got it through the door, because the thing was damn near as big as him.
It was a team effort.
It like cracked our bay window, and it was just like downstairs, and there's just tail feathers and poo everywhere. Or he'll bring in like a rat, and we won't find it for a few days, and it'll be under the oven. So sometimes I've been in like, I sleep naked. I'm just gonna tell you guys. So like it'll be 3 a.m. and I'm chasing a rat around my house with a dog, trying to knock it out at 3 a.m. It's Salt Lake. It's hot. So anyway, we kind of like the middle of the summer because he just kills it outside then, rather than bringing it in. Apparently, he thinks that we can't hunt very well. And that's why he's doing it.
He's just doing it to show off. He's like, "Hey, look at me! I brought you this. It's like a present. It's a little gift for you.
Little gift."
While you were doing keyboard shit, I went and got dinner. Here you go.
Here's a rabbit.
Quit lubing switches and pet me.
Well, guys, I want to give a quick shout out to our awesome sponsors, which this show would not be a thing without it. So. First up, you got mechsondeck.dixiemech.com. Go pick up GMK. I'm taking a long time because I forgot. Oh yes, GMK nuclear data. I almost said nuclear redacted, and I was like,
the other green and orange set.
The only other green and orange set. Nuclear data running right now on Dixiemech. Please, it's a great set. The more I look at it, because the good thing is I don't have to buy orange with it, right? That's a set that I've been contemplating more and more grabbing because I'm like, I should like this. It's green. I do like this. I don't know why I haven't bought this yet. But yeah, be sure to go pick that up. You can go to mechsondeck.project.link. He's got remind me the name again. Uman Sumi. Sorry. Pick up GMK Sumi, so mechsondeck.project.link. That's coming out July 15th. You can go to switchmod.net/mechsondeck to pick up and if you get springs. I know he's still working through some of his lube stuff. I know he's slowing down on that, but you do get 4% off your order there. And then you can go to candykeys.com slash Mex on deck, and you can pick up GMK bread and SA Mizu running right now. So be sure to go get that bread.
Or maybe not.
Yeah. All right. And then last but not least, our awesome partners, Zap Cables, who's got some awesome custom coiled cables right now. Go check out Smith and Rune. The Iron 180 is coming very soon. So be on the lookout for that as well. Type Beast, go to typebay.st for one of the best newsletters in this hobby.
Yup.
Basically what these guys said.
Oh.
I don't know where I exist on the thing. Inside the chat, you guys are above me, so I'm doing this.
If you that way, other way. Yeah,
There you go.
Boom.
2 hours later, I've been pointing the completely wrong direction this whole time.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay.
Can you edit that out in the VOD and just like put this in there?
Boom. The whole time.
Maybe. Sure.
Just a picture. Well, it's got to be the video.
Yeah, I'll just take a snap. Yeah. Just that.
About leaves. Oh my god, what are you doing to me? It's so heavy.
Oh man. Well, it has been a good one.
Fun. This has been a good. I knew I was excited all day for going into this one.
It was just as good, if not better, than last time.
Awesome. It was so good. There's no chat questions other than my cat, which means I answered everything. He answered nothing.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep. How could Murph do this to you? So guys, Nephlock, thank you very, very much for coming on. Welcome back. Thank you. We'll have to, if we do this, we might just have to make this a yearly thing.
Every July 10th.
Ish.
Every 364-ish days. Minus leap year.
Exactly. So yeah, Woodpecker novelty, GMK Murph. I like it.
Hey, you know what? Maybe.
That would be
never say never.
All the novelties are just various animals that he's brought in the house throughout the year.
Listen, if Greg can do it, so can Murph.
If Handerbite can exist, so can anything. But thank you very much, guys. Be on the lookout. Apiary set, I guess, coming soon. TM, with some awesome novelties as well. I know you've got a lot of novelties on sets you can't really even talk about yet, but you will probably like a set that novelty he has worked on and done all the novelties for.
There will be things. I may not be the most present in the keyboard community, but that doesn't mean that things are not being worked on. So keep your peepers peeled for some stuff that I can't talk about.
Stay on high alert for things I can't say.
So if you happen to care about me, please stay in the hobby for the next 6 to 4 years. 6 months to 4 years.
I was about to say, you went backwards on that, but you know.
Based off of current GMK timelines. Every month that goes on, please add another 2 weeks of timeline that you need to stay in the hobby to get a set that I've worked on.
Ooh, that is a good question by Age Rage.
GMK Metropolis round 2, possibly? Chat?
What would you guys say if I said that I will never do a round 2 of Metropolis because just for fun, I want to see. Or I'm trying to get like the mech market flip price up a little.
Hey, you're set, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would just be like, all right.
You.
No, I brainstormed on it. I've talked about it. I think that I know you guys are trying to wrap the show up, but I think one of the big misses on the initial Metropolis run is that because we undershot it so much, there was a high barrier to entry to get the midnight version because it required the base kit and the companion kit. I think given the current climate in keycap sales, especially with like Hammerhead this month has a dark and a light complete base kit. Olivia did the same thing. So many sets are doing the same thing. That is definitely on the dock for round 2 is having separate base kits so that people do not have to overextend themselves just to get the midnight kit.
Yeah.
Had we had the crystal ball, we would have done that. with the initial run, but we were not anticipating what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different time. It was a different time.
Yeah.
It was a different time. I did like that if you wanted Metropolis and you couldn't get on the group buy, the extras were up for a hot minute.
Yeah, Mike.
I don't think it would do that. It would be out that long anymore. But Metropolis was one of those sets that hung around, and for not to say that that was a bad thing by any means, right? If it stays around for a couple weeks, it's like great. Then everyone who wanted it got it.
I think it benefits more people to have it around longer. You don't have such a high scalp ticket essentially. I know that like Dixie just had 9009, and it was the first set where extras actually went longer than I think 5 seconds.
Long enough to post on Instagram.
Right, 10 seconds tops. Which means that the price can be whatever it needs to be, and the mech market price isn't influenced at all. So Mike did buy, at the time, more extras than he'd ever bought on any set before, kind of anticipating that. So I think you'll see more of that.
Yeah, we hope so. So, well, thank you once again for coming out. I think we're gonna hit up. Have we rated Lightning keyboards before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think so. Either.
Maybe
so
a long time ago.
We're gonna hit up Lightning keyboards. I've talked to him.
You know it's coming.
So, guys, I want to just say thank you for showing up. Next week, we got some cool stuff planned as we continue our Keycap Designer Month. And Nephlock, I can't say enough. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody in chat, for all of the Fs for KeyCon and the inquisitions on Murph. You guys have been great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anyway, bye, Switch Tester.